So.
Okay, we got some minutes.
We do.
Motion,
Yeah, I looked them over and they're complete. Make a motion to approve.
guess I'll second.
Mike,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
John,
Yes. Well, okay. Jim Dixon? Give us an update on the pavilion.
I have a pretty picture in front of me.
Oh, yes.
We got it today, no problems. So, we're still on schedule, the timbers and everything are being fabricated as we speak. We're going to mobilize this week and start excavating first of next week. And by the time we get the ground part done, the building will arrive. So I expect the building to be here in 6 weeks.
Okay.
And by the end of September, we should be done. Right on time. That's about it.
Okay.
We got, yeah. Those are, yeah, Mike and I looked at them.
All right, anything we need to do for you?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. We have a contingent here from the fire department.
Yeah, it's got Mr. Mario Minacci, our corporation president, and Daniel Matzko, our treasurer, here to talk about our prospective levy options. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Mario.
So appreciate everybody's time 2 weeks ago. So really no changes on our end. Our biggest thing is, now that you guys had some time to think through and look through everything a little bit closer, what questions do you have for us? I know Mr. Everly had some last week or 2 weeks ago. So primarily regarding call volume.
Right,
Right.
call you volume with fighters, right.
So I got those for you guys. So these are, the first page is 2020 up to July 21st, which is when we pulled the report. And then the page behind that is a breakdown of 2019. So the call percentages that we talked about at the last meeting were through, I believe, October of 2019, from 2016 to 2019. So this is the individual breakdown of all of 2019.
Without doing the math, is that consistent with, like, say, 2016 through 18 as well?
So relatively consistent for the most part. We're averaging anywhere between 55 to 60% EMS. The biggest increase that we've seen is in the fire category. So we're up to, for 2020, we've had 23 different incidents that we've responded to that fall under that fire category. So some of that increase is due to the way that the state does fire reporting. There's a few more incidents that are included in that than previously. So as far as the building fires we've responded to for 2020, we're at 9, and then the rest of those incidents
Where
are,
was I when these all happened?
I don't know. I was kind of surprised too.
We've had 9 building fires.
Well, those could be brush fires too, couldn't they?
So
No, he said building
I know
fires.
it did. But
yeah, so we were at sorry, I lost my other sheet here. Oh, let's see. So the one report that we have, so this is from through March. We did not have any building fires in that period. Those were brush fire, construction fire, and outside equipment fire. And then the way that we have it broken down past that, so this is when we change reporting systems, is why there's the two different sets. So for the period of March to July, we were at 9 building fires, 1 chimney fire, 1 rubbish fire, 1 vehicle fire, and 1 brush fire. So the culmination of those are where that 23 comes from.
Are the 9 all in the township or some of those mutual aid?
I think some of those are mutual aid, but I don't have the,
So that was my next
Breakdown.
question. That includes mutual aid.
Mutual aid separate from that figure.
is it
Right,
separate?
yes. He's got a different list for mutual aid calls.
Okay.
We typically don't count building fires, mutual aid. That's leads with the posting department. They report it as a building fire. We record it as mutual aid going there.
Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt you, I just was having a small heart attack.
I think one of the things that we should make note of is year-to-date, as of today, we're 95 calls up from last year.
Yeah, so we are 95 calls up from last year. So this time last year we were at 358 calls, and we were at 453 as of this afternoon.
And how many of those calls, or I don't know if you have a statistic, but how many of those calls are back-to-back, or 2 calls within a 2-hour period, or?
We just had it back-to-back the other night, 2 nights ago, right?
Yeah, 2 nights ago we had about 20 minutes apart, I believe.
So, yeah, but we were out on one rescue call. We got a second rescue call, we were out on the first one.
And for so I didn't rerun the double hit numbers for this new period, so the information I have is the same as the chart that I shared with you guys.
But clearly, that scenario is escalating.
It's definitely been escalating, and it was kind of interesting when everything with coronavirus started as well. We kind of saw a decrease in EMS calls for a while there. You know, that was sort of the trend as people were a little bit more hesitant to seek out healthcare. So we had a little while where those dipped down, but they've definitely picked up in the last month or two here.
You got less people traveling with people working
Mhm.
from home, so.
Right.
Well, I don't know, gentlemen, you have any comments, or?
Well, that's the key thing is, what we're doing with this is putting on the 4th man 24/7. And the reason for that is to be able to cover multiple calls. And the multiple calls may seem like, I guess if you and I are having heart attacks at the same time,
First,
yeah, see?
go by age, right?
If you time it wrong, so, and again, that's what, you know, and again, what if we put on a levy, that's for the voters to decide, that's for the fire department to pay them, okay, this is the benefit versus, you know, what you're gonna be paying. So, since the benefit is really to the individual voters, you know, I'd say, once we get it on there, they're gonna be the ones to ultimately decide.
Well, I think basically though, what I've been hearing is this levy is to support personnel.
About 2/3 of it, correct?
Correct.
70% of the other things,
Yeah.
roughly.
And the 30% is into a equipment replacement.
Operation.
Yeah, right, maintenance. And by equipment, we're not talking about a bunch of shiny new fire trucks, we're talking about breathing apparatus and fill in, but you had a list there at the last meeting.
Right.
That was reaching critical mass, needed to be replaced.
Yeah, the trucks that we're
Gear.
looking at having to replace are, like we talked about, the squad, the chase car, the boat. We're hoping, that's our next 5 years, barring any catastrophic issues with anything, but that's what we're hopeful for, to be able to extend everything else past that. And then the remaining of that 30% would be, operational, everything else.
But the focus
Here.
the focus of this levy, should it get to the ballot, is going to be on the fourth guy, which isn't necessarily a fourth guy, it's about 8 hires.
Correct.
Staff
Mhm.
to fill that
Yes.
position 24/7, so. It's heavy on personnel, it's a big undertaking, and we trust you guys with the management of it, that this is a valid request.
I think we provided a professional premier service to our community, and our goal is to continue that. Make sure we stay on top of it and provide the best equipment, best manpower and staffing we can for our residents. I mean, that's our biggest thing, is protection of life and property. That's our sole goal here, is we want to be able to continue doing a good job at that.
Okay, and we're talking about doing a continuing,
That's what we discussed at the last meeting, because most of it's payroll.
I think that's the best way, myself.
Oh, we had discussion of that, and yeah, that's, if it's term, 5-year, whatever, the first thing that's gonna come up is we're gonna cut staffing at the time that needs to be renewed. And that's a poor way to run that type of business. I don't appreciate that coming from
Anyway,
educational systems when they have to ask for money, or certainly not for a fire department that, well, we need your vote, or we're gonna have to cut staffing. It's just, that's poor management.
I think you're right in that. I mean, we've established, once we've established that, yes, the staffing is required, then we have to fund that staffing, and you're right, continuing levy is a way to do that.
okay, we're gonna go for how many mills, sir? Wait,
I believe our discussion, last count was 1.8.
what is that? PJ, you agree to that, or?
Yeah, we
Well,
started
yeah,
with.
we had input from Fred, we know what the personnel's gonna cost, we know what
Agree to that
the,
number?
Yeah, I think that's the number that we're gonna need if we're going to pay for increased costs on our end as well as the increase that they're looking for.
Fred was very thorough, was the last
So
meeting explaining
make a
what
motion
the costs
to
would be.
put on the ballot a continuing 1.8 mil levy for the fire and rescue services.
I will second.
We have some language we've got to read here.
Why don't we do the motion and
Yeah.
then we'll do a separate
Okay,
resolution.
so we should do a vote.
Mike,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
John?
Yes.
So we have to pass a resolution and present that to the auditor. The auditor will then certify the amount of money that the levy will raise. That certified amount then goes to the Board of Elections along with our request for putting this on the ballot. We will have a special meeting tomorrow night that's to adopt the resolution asking the Board of Elections to put it on the ballot. Tonight, we're passing a resolution for a certificate of need, which the auditor will respond to. And I did work with the auditor on this language for the certificate of need. So, Resolution 2020-19. Whereas the Board of Trustees of Auburn Township, Geauga County, Ohio, has determined the amount of taxes which may be raised within the 10 mil limitation by levies on the current tax duplicate will be insufficient to provide an adequate amount for the necessary requirements of the township, and it is necessary to levy a tax in excess of such limitations for the purpose of Ohio Revised Code 5705-19I for providing and maintaining fire apparatus and for other specifications of fire protection in Auburn Township as provided and authorized in section ORC 507-19I. And whereas the levy is at a rate of 1.8 mil for a continuing period of time and is an additional levy, and whereas the ballot measure shall be submitted to the entire township and a tax levied on the entire township and within Geauga County, Ohio, the levy be placed on the November 3rd, 2020 ballot and first levied in tax year 2020 with beginning collection in 2021. Be it resolved by the Board of Trustees after meeting in regular session, August 3rd, 2020, that specified that pursuant to ORC 50703B, said board hereby certifies this resolution to the Geauga County Auditor and requests that the county auditor certify back to the Board of Trustees the total current tax valuation of the subdivision and the number of mills required to generate a specified amount of revenue, or the dollar amount of the revenue generated by 1.8 mills of a continuing levy for the purposes stated above. And that is the resolution.
Thank you, Fred.
Okay, motion to adopt.
Second?
Mike?
Yes.
PJ?
Yes.
John?
Yes. Okay. So gentlemen, we're halfway there.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Tomorrow, we have to go through this again. Mario, you did an excellent job.
Thank you.
Any other questions for these gentlemen?
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
If you have fire EMS type things that you must deal with, feel free to, you don't have to stick around for the rest of the meetings. I know you guys have things to do.
And maybe first matter, age before.
You do.
All right. We have a road levy to go, one of the 4 road levies to go back on the ballot. It is a replacement.
Yes. Renewal.
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 This is a 1 mil, right?
Correct.
It is a 1 mil levy. And so I'm gonna make a motion that we put that 1 mil levy on the ballot.
I will second.
Mike?
Yes.
PJ?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Okay, so there's another resolution. Sounds a lot like the last one. Resolution 2020-18. I'll go ahead and read that language. Whereas the Board of Trustees of Auburn Township, Geauga County, Ohio, has determined that the amount of taxes which would be raised within the 10 mil limitation will be insufficient to provide an adequate amount for the necessary requirements of the township, and it is necessary to levy a tax in excess of such limitation for the purpose of ORC 5075.19G for the general construction, reconstruction, resurfacing, and repair of streets, roads, and bridges in municipal corporations, counties, or townships. In Auburn Township as provided and authorized in section ORC 5705.19G. And whereas the levy is at a rate of 1 mil for 5 years, and such levy is a renewal, first voted on November 7, 2006, and whereas the ballot measure will be submitted to the entire township within Geauga County, and whereas the levy is to be placed on the November 3rd, 2020 ballot, and first levied in 2021 and collection beginning in 2022. Be it resolved by the Board of Trustees after a meeting in regular session, August 3rd, 2020, that pursuant to ORC 5705.03B, said board certifies this resolution to the Geauga County Auditor and requests that the County Auditor certify back to the Board of Trustees the total current tax valuation of the subdivision and the number of mills required to generate a specified amount of revenue, or the dollar amount of the revenue that would be generated by one mill for 5 years for the purposes stated above.
So moved.
Sorry.
John, do you need me to read that again?
No, I got it.
Mike?
Yes.
PJ?
Yes.
John?
Yes. Okay.
Good.
Move on. Okay, we have a franchise fee from Friendship Cable of Texas, who does business here as Southern Link, in the amount of $2,951.05.
What do you want to do with that, PJ?
Well, we'll put it, I make a motion to put it over into the land acquisition and improvement fund.
Change the base to the gate. I'll second.
Mike?
Yes.
PJ?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Nancy printed out here, I don't know if you saw it, so they did some interviews on Marydale.
I was gonna bring that up.
Oh, were you? Okay, go ahead, because I got a comment on
Not
that. I've been
to,
talking
not to
about
kick
it.
somebody when they just made a franchise payment to us, but Nancy has been extremely busy answering complaints about Southern Link. And as a matter of fact, there was a lady on Southern Link who called Southern Link for some repair of the cable, and Southern Link said, yeah, that's no problem, we'll be there in a month. Did not go over real well. And so she got a hold of the president, who didn't talk to her, but contacted the vice president, who had a guy who showed up that afternoon, who drove 3 hours to get here. Now that sounds mighty customer friendly, except for the fact that the customer service for our cable system is 3 hours away.
Yeah, well, I'm aware of that. Where I'm building my house, which is just up the street from these folks off of Stafford, and there's, not including my house, there's 3 houses under construction that I could stand in the road and throw a rock and hit them all, and a house that just changed hands. And we've all been told we're outside the physical plant, which sounds impressive, but the physical plant is the next telephone pole over.
Yeah.
They won't bring that wire over one more pole for 5 customers. They don't want customers.
No, they don't.
No.
So what we've been attempting to do is go on the website and do a survey which will say if it was available to go to, now I gotta think of all these guys, what's the,
Well, I've got Windstream.
Spectrum, would you sign up? And most of the people that are calling, they want to go to Spectrum. And when I say most of the people that are calling, the number of people that are calling is a large list. Now, you know, now you're dealing with the PUCO and all of these characters. But I'm gonna be honest with you. There's wires laying,
On Stafford Road, east of me.
none of the wires that exist are properly
Down a
installed.
month and a half.
When we did a project 2 or 3 years ago, the cable wire, the lady, very nice lady, She comes out, she goes, what are all these wires laying in my yard? It was the cable for the rest of the street. So we tried to get them to come up, them being Suddenly, and fix this.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I've been talking with my 5 neighbors there. 2 of them are desperate to get internet because they got kids.
Sure.
And everything's homeschool now, and, over online. So they went elsewhere. One got a satellite, and the other one, I don't know what they ended up doing. But, so here, the 5 of us
But if
are-
we had Spectrum.
Here, the 5 of us are asking for Suddenlink, and
No,
I
no,
see
no.
this report, and careful what you wish for, I guess, so.
But you would, those people would sign up if they could get the Spectrum, I would think.
I would think, yes.
Well, Nancy, of course, was on vacation, and I'm, I just,
So Friendship Cable of Texas doesn't take Auburn seriously?
no. If they could have their
Something was bad
way,
enough when they were in West Virginia, and they went to Youngstown, then they went to West Virginia, now they're coming out of Texas.
if they could have their way, we would cease to exist. Yeah. I think the guy who came to actually fix this, his initial response was, this is just antiquated junk equipment. So clearly, they're not sinking a nickel into this place.
Now, I heard that Windstream is supposed to be running fiber, and they've done some parts of the township, like Quinn Road and closer to Bainbridge, but they're moving really slow across the township. My mom has Suddenlink, and when it's working, it works well. It works better than the Windstream DSL, but that's when it's working, and it goes out intermittently.
So, yeah, I had the Windstream for quite a while, and it was about a year ago that my modem went out, and it's like, we don't make that one anymore. It's like, we can give you the new one, we'll bring it out, no charge, we'll upgrade you to the higher speed, and it'll stay, your price will be exactly the same. So it's like $44 a month. And, they did it within a couple days. So, I mean, at least the service is there. So maybe if they get the fiber optics up here where they can get enough bandwidth to hit a few more houses.
So I know a lot of people can't get Windstream though.
Yeah, that's just it. I mean, I've got Suddenlink for my cable TV, but I wouldn't use them for internet.
Okay.
And again, it's a big issue now because you get people working
It
from
is.
home, you've
Sure.
got
That's why you're here more.
online schooling,
And you
you've
got
got the
kids.
teachers that live out here. I mean, that goes down, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're not gonna see your teacher for a month because they gotta send a repair guy out. That's gonna go over really well.
Your kid goes into school and, sorry, but my thing's been out and we're waiting on Suddenly.
No homework.
Okay, anything else, gentlemen?
No, sir.
Okay, motion of.
I've
By the way, I have something.
I got a couple things too.
Yeah, the church over here is sold, and it's within a week or two of closing. The members have pretty much gone over, gotten all their possessions out, and done whatever they're gonna do with everything, except there's 2 things up there. One is the altar thing. I got a picture of it, Mike, John will show you. It's 2 by 7, and there's some shelving on the inside. I think we could make room for it at the museum,
Mhm.
because we could put items, we just went through and purged a bunch of those old showcase things, some of them are kind
Well, I
of
think,
cheesy.
the church has been such a big part of the Auburn history that
Oh,
we
absolutely.
should definitely have as much as possible from there.
That, it's only 2 by 7, I think it's probably, I didn't measure the height, but,
Yeah.
so that,
Oh, yeah, I remember that,
Yeah.
yeah.
and then there's a big table up there, that's big, I don't know, it's big.
Is that the one that was in there?
In the library over to
Yeah.
the side there, it's significantly bigger than this piece. So I looked at it yesterday with a couple of the guys up there, and I said, I think we could take the altar piece there and put it at the museum. I said, the other thing, that belongs in some century house somewhere. I mean, it's, unless we got stuff to throw out that I can't think of right now at the museum, I don't think I want it up there, because it's huge.
Yeah, well, we don't have that much ground, so I mean, unless we can find some place to put it where we can take things and.
It's a great big, it's a conference table, really is what it is. It's probably not this long, but it's close to this.
Yeah, I think that'd be a stretch.
Yeah,
So,
so I'm gonna have the guys go and grab that before this closes out, the one piece, and, I think we're gonna pass on the other one. Yeah. That's all I have.
That makes sense.
Fred?
Yeah, I just have your regular reports in front of you, including your payment report listing warrants 5889 through 5923, totaling $54,221.97. And then
I got it.
I have a resolution here
Oh, I got it.
to request tax advance for the second half fiscal year
Yeah, I didn't get
2020. That's resolution 2020-20, and I'll go ahead and read the resolution language. Be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of Auburn Township, Geauga County, Ohio, that it must request its second half fiscal year 2020 tax advance, and that such advance is required to maintain township operations. Therefore, the board authorizes the fiscal officer to make a written request to the Geauga County Auditor for said tax advance pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 321.34. That's the resolution.
All right, motion was adopt.
Second.
Mike,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
that's all I have.
Motion of all motions?
Yes, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mike,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Tomorrow at 5? Tomorrow at 5, right?
Tomorrow at 5.
yes, special meeting tomorrow at 5.